Electrode. Starting our list with Electrode, the Pokemon equivalent of that friend who shows up to every party uninvited, makes a scene, and then disappears before anyone can ask them to leave. With 140 speed, the fastest in all of Gen 1, Electrode operated on a simple philosophy. Arrive first, cause maximum chaos, then self-destruct before facing any consequences. Its battle strategy was essentially speed-running warfare, paralyzing opponents with Thunder Wave before exploding with the enthusiasm of a toddler discovering bubble wrap. Electrode mastered the art of making memorable first impressions, even if they were also final impressions. Cloyster. Cloyster is what happens when evolution decides that regular mollusks need to attend military academy. With an absolutely bonkers 180 defense, this water-ice type transformed the humble clam into a fortress that could probably survive a meteor impact while complaining about the noise. Its signature move, Clamp, was like being stuck in the world's most uncomfortable hug, one that lasted multiple turns and slowly drained your will to live. Cloyster's 95 attack meant it wasn't just playing defense, it was the oceanic equivalent of that quiet kid in class who turns out to be a martial arts expert. Clearly, someone forgot to tell Cloyster that shellfish are supposed to be the easy targets. Tentacruel. If jellyfish had a spokesperson, it would definitely be Tentacruel. It's graceful, mysterious, and absolutely lethal to everything around it. With 100 speed and 120 special, this water poison type moved through battles like a ballet dancer who happened to be extremely proficient in chemical warfare. Its move pool included Surf, Blizzard, and Toxic Spikes, making it the Swiss Army knife of aquatic annihilation. The fact that it had 80 tentacles was either incredibly fascinating or the stuff of nightmares depending on your stance on tentacles as a general concept. Tentacruel single-handedly ruined beach vacations for an entire generation of trainers. Poliwrath. Poliwrath represents the ultimate glow-up story in the Pokemon world, from adorable tadpole to heavyweight champion who could bench press a Snorlax without breaking a sweat. This water fighting type combined respectable 85 attack with solid bulk, making it the gym buddy everyone wished they had. Its hypnotic belly swirl wasn't just for show, it was a conversation starter that usually ended with the other party unconscious on the ground. Poliwrath's move pool included powerhouse options like Submission and Surf, making it the first Pokemon to successfully combine swimming lessons with boxing classes. Rapidash. Rapidash fulfilled every childhood fantasy of owning a unicorn, then immediately shattered those dreams by being perpetually on fire and having the temperament of a caffeinated wasp. With 105 speed and 100 attack, this fire type could run laps around opponents before deciding whether to trample them with Horn Drill or incinerate them with Fire Blast. Its majestic appearance made it Instagram-worthy, assuming Instagram existed in a world where your followers might spontaneously combust from looking at your posts. Rapidash was the Pokemon equivalent of getting exactly what you wished for, with all the careful wording you forgot to include. Rhydon. Meet Rhydon, the Pokemon that answered the age-old question, what would happen if a rhinoceros got really into heavy metal music and decided to become a drill? With 130 attack and 120 defense, Rhydon was basically a living construction site that could renovate your opponent's face with extreme prejudice. Its rock ground typing provided excellent resistances, though it did mean that any trainer with a Squirtle could turn this mighty beast into a very expensive paperweight. Fun fact, Rhydon holds the distinguished honor of being the first Pokemon ever designed, which explains why it looks like someone drew it during a particularly intense episode of How It's Made. Golem. Golem took the concept of going out with a bang and made it into a lifestyle choice. With 110 attack and 130 defense, and access to the relationship-ending explosion move, Golem was the friend who always chose the nuclear option in arguments. In Gen 1, Explosion wasn't just a move, it was a statement that said, I may not win this battle, but I'm definitely going to make sure you remember it. Golem's ability to learn Earthquake provided a more sustainable approach to problem solving, though it still preferred the dramatic flair of turning itself into a geological event. This Pokemon essentially weaponized the concept of taking things way too seriously. Arcanine. Arcanine occupied the unique position of being the legendary Pokemon that technically wasn't legendary. It was like being the valedictorian who forgot to file their graduation paperwork. This minor clerical error didn't diminish its majesty one bit. Arcanine looked more regal than most actual royalty and had the stats to back up its attitude. With well-rounded capabilities and access to moves like Fire Blast and Body Slam, it could handle diplomatic negotiations or hostile takeovers with equal grace. Its 110 attack and 95 speed made it a reliable problem solver, while its 80 special ensured that even its casual conversations could leave lasting impressions. Arcanine was essentially the golden retriever of the Pokemon world, if golden retrievers were 6 feet tall and perpetually on fire. Machamp. Machamp represents what happens when you take the phrase "why use one hand when you can use two" and apply it with mathematical precision. With 4 arms and 130 attack, it could literally throw more hands than any other Pokemon in existence. Its signature move, Submission, was a wrestling finisher that hurt Machamp as much as its opponent, embodying the philosophy that if you're not risking everything, you're not trying hard enough. The real tragedy was its 55 speed, which meant this muscle-bound masterpiece moved with all the urgency of a DMV appointment. Machamp was living evidence that sometimes having more arms just means you can hug more people before they knock you out. Victreebel. Victreebel was Mother Nature's practical joke on anyone who thought plants were harmless. This grass poison type looked like a pitcher plant that had been hitting the gym and harboring some serious grudges against the animal kingdom. With 105 attack and 100 special, it combined physical prowess with special abilities, making it equally capable of digesting you or putting you to sleep first for a more civilized dining experience. Its access to sleep powder made it the master of the pre-meal nap, apparently subscribing to the belief that even carnivorous plants should have proper table manners. Victreebel turned every greenhouse into a potential crime scene. Vileplume. Vileplume turned the innocent act of flower smelling into a high-stakes game of chemical roulette. With the largest bloom in the Pokemon world adorning its head, it wasn't just making a fashion statement. It was operating a biological warfare laboratory disguised as a garden party. Its 100 special attack could back up its threats, while its arsenal of sleep powder, stun spore, and poison powder made it a walking status condition buffet. Vileplume was essentially a beautiful flower that moonlighted as a war criminal, making every botanist question their career choices. Nidoking. Nidoking was the overachiever of the Pokemon world, not the absolute best at anything, but annoyingly competent at everything. With a move pool that included Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Fire Blast, and Earthquake, Nidoking was like that friend who's decent at every board game but never quite wins any of them. Its 92 attack and 75 special meant it could function as either a physical bruiser or a special attacker, though it excelled at being the reliable backup plan rather than the star of the show. Nidoking was the Swiss Army knife of Pokemon, practical, versatile, and somehow always exactly what you needed until you needed something spectacular. Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen took a completely different approach from her male counterpart, trading some raw power for the kind of well-rounded competence that keeps teams together. With 82 attack and 75 special, she was less about overwhelming force and more about sustainable excellence. Her move pool matched Nidoking's diversity, but she wielded it with the patience of someone who had learned that sometimes the best victories come from outlasting your opponents rather than outgunning them. Nidoqueen was essentially the team mom, protective, nurturing, and absolutely terrifying when someone threatened her family. She redefined maternal instincts to include poison spikes and earth-shattering punches. Gengar. Gengar was the class clown who turned out to be secretly brilliant, combining 130 special with 110 speed to become the ultimate prankster with a PhD in destruction. As Gen 1's only ghost type, it enjoyed the unique privilege of being completely immune to normal and fighting moves, making it the perfect counter to muscleheads like Tauros and Machamp. Its signature move, Lick, sounded about as threatening as a friendly greeting, but Gengar's access to Psychic, Thunderbolt, and Hypnosis revealed layers of menace beneath that perpetual grin. That smile was simultaneously the most endearing and terrifying expression in the Pokemon world, the face of someone plotting your demise while genuinely enjoying themselves. Gyarados. Gyarados represents the greatest revenge story in Pokemon history. A pathetic fish that got tired of being the punchline and decided to become the entire joke book. Evolving from the completely useless Magikarp into a 21-foot sea serpent with anger management issues and the stats to back them up was the ultimate character development arc. With 125 attack and 100 special, Gyarados could use both Earthquake and Hydro Pump with devastating effectiveness. Its water flying type was biologically questionable for something with obvious dragon heritage, but it also created a fatal weakness to electric moves that turned every Pikachu encounter into a potential tragedy. Gyarados was essentially a success story written in scales and fury. Lapras. Lapras was the gentle giant of Generation 1, essentially a luxury cruise ship that happened to be extremely good at sinking other ships. With 130 HP and solid defensive stats, it could absorb punishment all day while retaliating with Ice Beam and Surf. Its water-ice typing provided excellent offensive coverage, though it meant that fighting moves hit like a runaway freight train. Lapras was so inherently kind-hearted that using it in battle felt like asking your grandmother to settle disputes through arm wrestling. The cognitive dissonance of watching this serene, majestic creature systematically dismantle your rival's team was part of its charm. Snorlax. Snorlax operated on the revolutionary principle that the best way to win fights is to be too lazy to lose them. With 160 HP and 110 attack, this perpetually drowsy powerhouse could absorb hits that would flatten mountains, then retaliate with the casual indifference of someone swatting a fly. Its signature combination of rest and sleep talk turned sleeping into a legitimate battle strategy, essentially turning narcolepsy into a competitive advantage. Snorlax didn't just block roads by existing, it was making a philosophical statement about the power of strategic inaction. Exeggutor. Exeggutor was evolution's answer to the question, what if we gave a palm tree anxiety and psychic powers? With 125 special attack, this walking tropical nightmare could launch mental assaults that would scramble opponents' brains while simultaneously making them question their life choices. Its grass psychic typing created a unique niche in the metagame, though the whole concept of being defeated by a tree with multiple personalities was psychologically damaging for trainers. Exeggutor was essentially a living reminder that nature documentaries severely underestimated the psychological warfare potential of vegetation. Jynx. Don't let that deceptively low base stat total fool you. Jynx was the master of psychological warfare disguised as a dance instructor. With 95 special and access to the devastating Lovely Kiss psychic combination, Jynx could put opponents to sleep and then destroy their teams while they napped. Its ice psychic typing was as unique as its appearance, providing interesting resistances while maintaining the ability to freeze opponents solid or fry their brains with equal enthusiasm. Jynx specialized in making battles as uncomfortable as possible for everyone involved, including spectators. Alakazam. Alakazam was the intellectual elite of the Pokemon world, combining 135 special with 120 speed to create a psychic powerhouse that could think faster than most opponents can move. Armed with an arsenal that included Psychic, Thunder Wave, and Recover, Alakazam was a complete package wrapped in the body of someone who had been clearly skipping leg day for their entire evolutionary line. Its defenses were about as sturdy as a house of cards in a hurricane, meaning one solid physical hit could send it back to the Pokemon Center faster than you could calculate the trajectory, and Alakazam was the ultimate glass cannon. Brilliant, powerful, and fragile enough to make bubble wrap seem durable. Slowbro. Slowbro existed in its own temporal dimension, operating on the radical premise that speed is overrated and patience is a superpower. With 95 HP, 110 defense, and 80 special, this water psychic type could tank physical hits indefinitely, while responding with the measured deliberation of someone who had all the time in the world. Its access to amnesia could boost its special defenses to ridiculous levels, transforming it into an immovable object that happened to have psychic powers. The shelter permanently attached to its tail wasn't a parasite. It was a life coach, reminding Slowbro that good things come to those who wait. Starmie. Starmie looked like it had been designed by a committee of science fiction writers who couldn't agree on whether they were creating an alien probe or a sea creature. With 115 speed and 100 special, this water psychic type moved through battles with the efficiency of advanced technology, wielding a move pool that included Psychic, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Surf. Starmie was essentially a 5-pointed star of calculated destruction that could adapt to any situation with the cold precision of a computer algorithm. The electronic sounds it made only reinforced the impression that it was less a living creature and more a piece of sentient technology that had learned to swim. Charizard. Charizard was the poster child of Generation 1, the Pokemon equivalent of that high school quarterback who peaked early but was absolutely legendary during their prime. This fire-flying dragon that wasn't technically a dragon type captured imaginations with its design and backed up the hype with solid performance. With 85 special and 100 speed, Charizard could deliver fire blasts that would make volcanoes jealous. Its tragic 4x weakness to rock moves would later become the stuff of memes, but in Gen 1, Charizard was the undisputed champion of looking cool while setting things on fire. Blastoise. Blastoise approached problem solving with the straightforward logic of someone who had shoulder-mounted artillery and wasn't afraid to use it. With 85 special and impressive bulk, this water type could absorb physical punishment while returning fire with the precision of a naval destroyer. Its ability to learn Earthquake was particularly devious, allowing it to surprise electric types who thought they had found an easy target. Blastoise was the reliable starter, not as flashy as Charizard or as unconventional as Venusaur, but steady, dependable, and equipped with enough firepower to level a small city if the situation called for it. Venusaur. Venusaur was the responsible starter, the one who invested in long-term sustainability while Charizard was out chasing glory and Blastoise was building its arsenal. With 100 special and solid defensive capabilities, this grass poison type didn't just win battles. It controlled them with the methodical precision of a master gardener. Its access to Razor Leaf and Sleep Powder created a combination that was both elegant and terrifying, like watching someone arrange flowers while simultaneously planning a heist. Venusaur mastered the art of making victory look effortless. Articuno. Articuno was the embodiment of elegant lethality, combining breathtaking beauty with ice attacks that could freeze opponents into sculptures of their own defeat. With 125 special and 85 speed, this ice-flying type moved through battles with the grace of a professional figure skater who happened to be extremely proficient in weather manipulation. Its signature Blizzard had a 10% chance to freeze opponents solid, essentially giving it a 1 in 10 chance to end battles immediately through the power of advanced refrigeration. Articuno was so beautiful that opponents sometimes forgot they were supposed to be fighting until they were already frozen solid. Zapdos. Zapdos was evolution's answer to the question, what's scarier than lightning? Apparently, it was lightning that could chase you across the battlefield while maintaining perfect accuracy. With 125 special and 100 speed, this electric flying type could outrun most of the competition while delivering electrical attacks that would make Tesla coils seem like party tricks. Its unique typing provided immunity to ground moves while resisting fighting and flying attacks, creating a defensive profile that was as impressive as its offensive capabilities. Zapdos was essentially a living thunderstorm that had learned to focus its anger on individual targets. Moltres. Moltres was the theatrical performer of the legendary birds, a living special effect that looked like it was perpetually emerging from the climax of a blockbuster movie. With 125 special and 90 speed, this fire-flying type could deliver fire blasts that would reduce opponents to ash while somehow managing to look absolutely magnificent in the process. Its access to agility allowed it to boost its speed to levels that defied physics, transforming it into a sweeping force that could outrun and outgun virtually anything. Moltres wasn't just a Pokémon. It was a statement piece that happened to be extremely good at combat. Dragonite. Dragonite was the ultimate example of evolutionary false advertising, looking like it should be handed out free hugs at a children's hospital while secretly harboring the combat capabilities of a small military. With a 134 attack and well-rounded stats across the board, this dragon flying type could function as either a physical powerhouse or a special attacker, depending on its mood and the situation at hand. Its move pool was absolutely ridiculous, including options like Hyper Beam, Thunder Wave, Blizzard, and Thunder. Dragonite specialized in crushing opponents' expectations along with their Pokémon. Mewtwo. And here we find ourselves at the undisputed champion of Generation 1. Mewtwo, the Pokémon that answered the question, what happens when scientists decide to play God? With 154 special, 130 speed, and 110 attack, Mewtwo was essentially a walking natural disaster with a psychology degree and a serious grudge against its creators. Its move pool included Psychic, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Amnesia, making it capable of handling any convincible threat while simultaneously questioning the ethics of its own existence. Mewtwo wasn't just the final boss of Pokémon. It was a philosophical statement about the consequences of unchecked scientific ambition wrapped in the body of a psychic cat with anger management issues and godlike powers. And there you have it, the 30 strongest Pokémon from Generation 1, now with more varied humor and accurate base stat totals. From Electrode's commitment to explosive punctuality to Mewtwo's existential crisis with reality-bending powers, these Pokémon defined what it meant to be powerful in the original games. Sure, later generations would introduce abilities, the physical special split, and new types that would revolutionize the metagame, but these 30 Pokémon established that sometimes the classics really are timeless. Whether you're a veteran trainer who remembers the golden days of Red and Blue, or a newcomer curious about Pokemon's humble beginnings, these powerhouses represent the peak of what Generation 1 had to offer. Just remember that with great power comes great responsibility, and also the ability to absolutely dominate your friends in Pokemon battles. Use this knowledge wisely, and may your critical hits always land when you need them most. What do you think of our rankings? Did we miss any Pokemon that deserved a spot on the list? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Pokemon content that's guaranteed to make you nostalgic for the days when Pokemon only had 151 species, and we were all perfectly happy with that number. Thanks for watching, and remember, you gotta rank 'em all.